back, and it has been a minute. We are living in very interesting times, and I have been relentless on social media, as I had told you before. And that's where I actually want to start before we get into the next theme that I want to get into, which is obviously around healing, why healing takes so long. I mean, one of my clients, a new client, asked me that, in my brochure, because if you come for my coaching, I send you a brochure with the packages that I give. So the first package is you work with me for 3 months, or you work with me for 6 months, or you work with me for a year. And she was like so shocked by the year one, even the 6 months. And she's like, but why does it have to take so long? Guys, healing takes long, and I'm going to explain why in the next video. As I start the series of why healing takes so long, why we repeat patterns. I know I have done some videos on that again, but it does require one to go a little bit deeper so that you can grasp these things. The purpose really is that if you are for those of you who are unable or who do not even have the means to get a coach yet, the content that you get here has to be just so valuable that you can use it to begin working on yourself on your own, such that one day when you are able to afford a coach, at least you have the theories, you have the concepts, and then you understand how a coach can support you. In fact, you will know which coach can support you and which coach can't. And for some people, they don't even need a coach. You don't even need a coach per se. If you really use some of the stuff that we are teaching here, there's many of us. There's many of us who are coaches and healers and teachers here on this platform. And maybe in the next few videos, I will recommend some people. But you can use this content. That's why we are here to help you work on yourself on your own, because healing is your journey. So she was quite surprised that it takes long. Why does it take so long? And part of why it takes long, really, guys, is that we have inherited a lot of our wounding in childhood. I mean, I am yet to find a completely different theory. And if we find it and it proves us otherwise, we will all, evolve and change and use that new theory. But for now, almost all deep wounding happens in childhood. Almost all deep traumas happen in childhood. And speaking of trauma, trauma is not the actual thing that happened to you. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But it is also the inability to process it. So when we say your body is holding trauma, or there's trauma in your body, or that the body never forgets, or the body holds keeps scores. We are not talking about that if someone can cut you and cut your muscles and cut your tissues, they will locate trauma. That's not obviously what we are saying. But trauma is when we say the body holds trauma, you see now I've just done a brace mode. You are bracing because there's danger, or your dad is beating your mom, or your dad is shouting at you, or your mom has abandoned you again, or your mom is calling you names, or whatever it is, or your sister, whatever it is at childhood. And then because you're a child, because you are small, because you are literally in survival mode. Childhood is quintessentially survival mode. You want to survive. You can't do anything. You don't work. You don't have the means to support yourself. So you are in this environment where you are at the mercy of the adults. And I'm just putting it bluntly like that because um and I know that some of you are probably thinking, but I'm a loving mom, or I came from a loving home. Yeah, but you're still in survival mode. You depend on your parents. And there's certain personalities that we develop in childhood that helps us to survive that era, that childhood era. So if you grew up in an environment that was unpredictable, that was violent, that was abusive, whether it was mommy or daddy, or mommy and daddy, or there was some form of insecurity, food insecurity, there was poverty, um there was no comfort, there was no warmth that a child requires, such that you find that you are constantly having to shortchange yourself. Maybe you are bracing, maybe you are hiding, maybe you are performing. You have to perform, or maybe you are pretending, maybe you are people pleasing, maybe you are allowing things to happen to you. That, all that, the fact that you are not being yourself, the fact that you are doing all the things I've just mentioned to survive, that is trauma. That is what we're talking about. It's trauma to brace all the time because your environment wanted you to brace all the time. So what happens then? Your body, your nervous system gets used to that. But your body and your nervous system is not meant to be in brace mode forever, or in performance mode forever, or in hiding forever, or in people pleasing forever, or in working, we're busy, look busy forever. And because then that is how your childhood environment and space was, and teenhood. And by the time you are a young adult in your 20s and you enter the work environment, you get into relationships, you get into larger social spaces, you are still in, I get, and strangely, this this or whatever it is that you use becomes your way of finding comfort. I don't know if that makes sense. I know people find this concept very hard, where anything that is safe, anything that makes your brace to relax feels unsafe because a familiar space that is toxic for the body, or rather for the 9-year-old, 7-year-old, or 6-year-old, feels safer than an environment that is relaxing. Which is why we sabotage relationships that are good for us because you want the screaming and the trauma. Not you consciously. Obviously, consciously, you don't want that. But the body has gotten so used to bracing, so used to this trauma, that that is normal for them. Or so used to performing. So you cannot be yourself because you don't even know who you are. So the process of healing, the reason healing takes so long, is that we need to relax all that. And that has been years in the doing. So if you've been a people pleaser, someone who just does not put boundaries in place because you want to please people, because that's how you survived as a child, as a teen, and as a young adult, and now you are 39 and you're still people pleasing, no matter how many books, how many videos on TikTok, how much coaching you've done, how much therapy you've done, you are still people pleasing. It's because a lot of the healing is done cognitively. We are not doing it in the body. We are not allowing the body to complete or release rather the trauma. There's a reason why I'm saying complete, and I'll share that in maybe in a different video. So we are not allowing the body to release. And how do you allow the body to release the bracing, the people pleasing, the performing, the whatever you use, is by actually letting it be unsafe. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you are used to being abandoned. You come from a home where love was not shown. There was always neglect. There was always abandonment, psychological abandonment, emotional abandonment, sometimes even physical abandonment. You had to grow up too quickly. You had to fend for yourself. So you develop what? A hypervigilance. Let's say you become that hyper. You go to varsity, you study hard, you make a lot of money, you do well, you succeed externally. But in your relationship space, you are always with these deadbeat relationship. And I'm not just talking men here. You could be a guy listening to this, and you are always dating the rudest woman around, or the weirdest guy that just doesn't match who and where you are. It's because no amount of success or no amount of money or no amount of being who you think you want to be in the world is going to heal what the body has not released yet. So your body needs to release the hypervigilance, and this is where coaches come in. Okay. And I will help you release those as we continue with the teachings. This is just an opening. I'm introducing here. I'm introducing and I'm trying to answer why healing takes so long. Okay. So the body needs to have a space where it can release the hypervigilance and relax. And it needs a lot of time for that to happen. And it needs to constantly be in an environment that allows that. So then you meet a guy who So you keep dating a man who is unpredictable, who abandons you, who neglects you, who rejects you, who cheats on you, whatever the case is, you are fine because you are hyper vigilant. You can take care of, you know that. That's your vibe, even though you're making a lot of money. And I know you're laughing with me because we know people like that. Some of us are like that, you know, and you prefer this, or rather, your body prefers this, even if your cognitive is like, what the hell? I know I don't want this. I attended this workshop. I had a sessions with our slave, or I went to that coach. I went to a retreat, and yet it's here. And then one day you do some work with another coach or with me, and we help you trust that a comfortable, a calm guy, a non-loud woman, or whatever is actually what you need to heal. And you say sharp, and you meet the guy. And the first thing that happens in that relationship where the guy is there for you and does not require anything from you, does not require you to be vigilant, to be hyper, um, kind of what's the word that we use? Hyper independent, doesn't need you to be doing things for him. And the moment you're in that environment, the body and your nervous system is screaming, like, what the hell is this? Because it's not used to that. It's not used to relaxing in that space. So the sense of relaxing, in as much as it's going to help you in a long time, affects your survival part. So the part of you that's been surviving, the part of you that's hyper vigilant is like, no way. There's no way we are relaxing. There is no way in hell we are releasing this vigilance of ours. And then you sabotage. And then that part of you that survives like that decides to sabotage the relationship. You start acting funny. You start not going on a date with him. You start being really, really strange. You scream at him. You do things that push him away because you want that you are used to. So how you heal then so that you get rid of the survival mode of yours, this 9-year-old that's running your relationship, is to trust the new space and to be in it, to be with that guy, to feel the craziness because your body is going to do things, eh? You are going to not feel okay in a safe environment. It's not going to be familiar, it's not going to be safe. And what we are saying as your coaches, as your life coaches, is to say, stay there, stay in the unsafe space or seemingly unsafe space and allow what the body needs to do to happen. Allow the craziness, allow yourself to go mad because you will. And over time, it will get better and better and better. And that's why healing takes long, real healing, that is. And so that is the introduction, guys, of the next series. I'm not sure what I'm going to call it, but we are going to get deep into healing. We are going to get deep into why you can't actually regulate your nervous system. You can't. I know there's a lot of highly regulated. How do you know you are regulated? Well, you know when you are regulated, but you can't regulate your nervous system. Because when you say, I'm going to regulate my nervous system, you're basically saying, it's similar to saying, I'm going to regulate my heartbeat, or I'm going to regulate my digestion, or I'm going to run my bloodstream, going to control how my blood goes up and down. Those processes happen when the environment allows you. You know, when you walk into a dangerous space, your heartbeat just rises, your temperature rises. You don't do that. And when you are in a safe environment, they all calm down and they get regulated. The nervous system is the same. It's just that with the nervous system, it's a whole other interesting ball game. Okay, so let's get into the healing content, deep in the healing content. And if you would like support and you'd like me to help you, you'd like to come for coaching, it is August of 2006, wow, to 2026 as I'm recording here, and I have a few more spots left so we can close for the year. You can only take either 3 months coaching with me, and then we can complete the rest next year, because at some point I do need to take a break and rest. It's been an incredible year. And it doesn't help that the political atmosphere is also just adding to my plate, because in as much as I am a teacher, healer, coach, I'm also a social commentator, and I don't think we should be quiet, especially those of us who have been given voices. So on social media, Facebook in particular, I am commenting about what's happening in the world, in the country. I'm posting about those. So Liskamakala, we are not one thing. We are not one thing, and we shouldn't be one thing. We are a multifaceted being, and where we have been given, we need to give back. I believe I've been given articulation and a voice, and I'm going to use it to help, to teach, to heal, to coach, and to comment on the injustices that I see, and to support causes that I think are on the right path, even if they look chaotic. Sometimes that's what you need. Sometimes you need chaos, because the peace route, you need chaos to get to peace, you know. There's a teacher back in the days who used to say, you must be cruel in order to be kind. And I used to think it is just the most absurd thing. But I get it now as a grown up. I get it now. Not because of March and March, but I've always gotten it. But it's just that it is so glaring now that on the one hand, depending on who's asking and who's looking, it looks very cruel and chaotic what's happening. But it's actually probably the best way we can show love, the best way to show love to our fellow South Africans and to the country, and to honor the ancestors, because this country was not gotten on a silver platter. Hey, we were not handed this freedom that we enjoy. People had to die. People had to die. Yeah, and I'll leave it there. I will see you probably next week with another video on deepening our healing. So for now, this is my story, and I cannot wait to hear yours.